Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm here to talk about Shadowhunters. Two episodes. Episode 309, titled Familia, Ante, Omnia, which premiered Tuesday, May 15, 2018 on Freeform, as well as episode 310, titled Erchomai, which premiered the same day on Freeform. These two were meant to be the 2 hours mid-season finale for season 3. I probably butchered both of those titles for the episodes, so I do apologize. But anyways, huge spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the 2 episodes, please go do so first, and then come back and see what I have to say about them. Otherwise, my other video reminders are up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those, as well as a verbal reminder that when it comes to the books, I've only read the first 3, and it's been, I think, about 10 years since I've read them. Since the events of what's currently happening in the show is supposed to be influenced by book 4, I believe, I have no idea what's going to happen or what could happen. So now you get my take of what I perceive from the episode. So anyways, I'm going to try to do this in 25 minutes. Let's hope I can. Timer starting, and let's begin with episode 309 with what happened. So timeline-wise, it's the day after 308. I pretty much came up with this because Claire wakes up the next morning after sentencing in her cell. Also, it's stated that Maya left the previous night, and she was last seen in 307 with the decision to leave town after what happened with Jordan. So with that said, episode reminder, I'm going to put it at family drama. You got a bit of everything with the family drama there. And first moments of the episode, though, is the fact that we get Clary, like I said, waking up in her cell, and maids are preparing her for her death before she actually witnesses the guard bringing on the culling execution, and she sees one inmate being burned to death at the stake. Or burned alive at the stake, I guess you could say. So, episode breakdown of the storylines. I picked up on 3 from what I could pick up on. First one being Clary's sentencing turned interrogation in Alicante. Second one being saving Jace from the owl. And the third one being Simon versus Heidi. So, with the first storyline, again, Alicante, Clary ends up questioning a resurrected Valentine as she stalls her execution. With their little interrogation, she discovers that Lilith plans to resurrect her brother Jonathan. So there's that. With the second storyline, we get Magnus trying to turn to Lorenzo Ray to get permission as the High Warlock to gain borrowed magic from a few other warlocks so that he can use it to expel Lilith's hold on Jace. However, Lorenzo refuses and kind of blackmails all the warlocks to not go with Magnus. This results in Magnus having the final option of going to his father Asmodeus for help, which we don't see in this episode. We do in 310, just to be aware. With the third storyline, we get Lilith recruiting Heidi, who was being escorted by the Praetor Lupus, and she recruits her so that she can keep Simon busy. And because of this, Heidi takes Simon's mom and sister, Elaine and Becky, as her dinner hostages and exposes the vampire secret, and she tries to convince Simon to come to her side and be with her, but that doesn't really go well. So moving on to the last moments, though, we see Clary stopping Valentine from escaping the guard. But then she gets detained by the owl, which again is possessing Jace, after he has retrieved a rib of Valentine's for the Lilith. So character-wise, though, we do see Consul Pinhollow sentencing or delivering the final rap sheets of all the criminals and stuff like that. So we see her do that. We also see her have very huge interest in resurrecting Valentine for answers, mainly. We see the return of Iris Rouse, and we find out we get reconfirmation that she specialized in necromancy, and her actual sentence to death was moved up because she refused to resurrect Valentine, which I think was just cruel in itself. I mean, just because, yeah, it was wrong on so many levels there. So there's that. Also, again, we see the return of Simon's family, his mom Elaine, who brings out that lawyer side of her as well as we see his sister Becky, his older sister Becky, or Rebecca. So there's that. We see the return of Heidi once again, escaping the prey to Lupus because Jace killed her guards before taking her to Lilith. Also, we meet Lieutenant Dwyer, which is Luke's boss. And he had ordered the cops to find Luke and bring him in due to his suspicious behavior, and especially when it comes to missing murder suspects as well as Ollie's disappearance. Now, when it comes to runes, though, we do see the rune that was used to activate the fire used to burn the criminals at the stake. We do see Clary's new necromancy rune. We also see Clary using an unlocking rune on the main door out of the guard. And we also have reference to a tracking rune being used. We don't see it on screen, but Jordan, Kyle, gives Izzy a piece of Simon's clothes so that she can use the tracking rune on to locate him. So it's off-screen use. So anyways, tidbit-wise, though, we find out that the guard does a culling execution once a month. So they gather up all their criminals, and once a month they do like a mass execution where they each watch each other's death one by one, and such, which was just very cruel in itself. So there's that. Also, a lot of people that were in the guard seem to be former Circle members. Or current Circle members, I should say. So there's that. Second tidbit was that Luke ends up picking Clary over the werewolves when they give him an ultimatum to pick which family he's to choose, when Luke tried to help him break Clary out of the guard in Alicante. Also, Luke gets brought into the station, like I mentioned before, for suspicious behavior, just before he goes to Magnus to get him to portal to Idris. I do have another question, though. Is Idris meant like to be the country, and then Alicante is meant to be a city in Idris, or are they two separate places, or am I mixing up my locations here? So that's an impromptu question right there. Also, another tidbit was, again, mentioned that Maya left town the previous night. She's not shown in the episode, though. So there's that. We also get the name of Simon's mark on his head, and it is the Mark of Cain. You find out that it dishes sevenfold of the damage to those that try to harm the bearer of the Mark of Cain. So if you attack him with the intent to kill him, then you experience death 7 times. If you just meant to do him maybe like a whack of harm, like punch him in the mouth or something, you experience that 7th fold. So there's that. Also, we see Alec resigning himself to killing Jace if it meant freeing him from Lilith's hold, since Jace is unwillingly under Lilith's control once again. So there's that. Moving on to 310. Timeline-wise, continues straight from 309 as we do see Clary portal back to New York with Owl Jace closely monitoring her. So there's that. Episode reminder I'm going to say is we get the final battle with Lilith, or what I consider to be the final battle. So I'll leave it with that. First moment of the episode actually starts out with a flashback, and this is where we see when Jonathan is sent to Edom at a very young age. I think he was like between 8 and 10. And Edom is where he meets Lilith for the first time. What was really twisted was the fact that she said that she would protect him from any harm, and yet her very touch caused him to scream in pain because it was burning him. So, a little twisted there. But moving on to episode breakdowns for it, I picked up on 4. First one being Magnus going to Edom. Second one being Clary meeting Lilith. Third one being facing Lilith in the final battle, as I said. And the fourth one being a side one of Simon's sacrifice. So with the first storyline, we get Magnus going to Edom. And first off, was not expecting to see a building of sorts in Edom, since I thought it would just be like a deserted wasteland, since it's supposed to be like a level of hell. But we meet Asmodeus for the first time. He wants Magnus to rule alongside him when Magnus refuses and offers something else in exchange for his help to stop Lilith. Asmodeus decides on taking Magnus's magic instead as their deal. At least that's my understanding of it. Second storyline with Clary meeting Lilith. We have Lilith linking Clary's light force to Jonathan, and that's the way that she resurrects him of sorts after adding the flesh of Valentine to it, as well as the blood of the disciples to Jonathan's charred dead body. Also, we see Simon's Mark of Cain, blasting Lilith back to eat him when she strikes him when Simon is trying to destroy Jonathan's containment before the spell is complete. So as Clary said, Lilith doesn't think when it comes to her son, so she would completely forget that she's not supposed to attack Simon if her son is in danger. So that's kind of how they get her blasted back to eat him. And just before that happens, though, Jonathan is alive again when his hand grips on Clary's arm. So there's that. Now with facing Lilith, though, we get a few different fights. We got the owl, which is Jace possessed, going against Alec, which resulted in a great fight against them. But it resulted in Alec getting stabbed and then Magnus intervening and blasting the owl out of Jace. We also then see Jace as himself going against a few of the disciples while Luke and Izzy are teaming up to face Ollie and the other disciples. And then we also get Clary and Simon teaming up to take on Lilith, which is what I just mentioned in the second storyline. It's kind of all connected there, though. And then the fourth storyline, though, is because of what happened to Simon's family with Heidi in the previous episode. Simon checks on Becky in the hospital. They have a heart-to-heart about him being a vampire, and then which leads to Simon incantoing his mom to believe that he's dead and that he's not a vampire and he's just dead. Canto, again, like compulsion for the Vampire Diaries. So that results in some harsh emotions there. But moving on to last moments of the episode, 4310, was the fact that Jace, regular Jace, and Simon are at the source of an explosion, and they believe that Clary is dead because there's no sign of Clary, there's no sign of Lilith, and there's no sign of Jonathan on that rooftop that has been blasted to bits. It's just the two guys standing there, so they believe she's dead. Character-wise, though, let's move on to that. We do see a return of Maris Lightwood. She's trying to help in the search of finding Clary and of Jace. She teams up with Luke to do that. We also see a Lieutenant Dwyer trying to push for answers from Luke about all the suspicious behavior around him. Ultimately, he suspends Luke due to those suspicions, and Luke's fine with it because his main focus is trying to find Clary, who he says repeatedly is his daughter in this episode, if anybody asked. So there's that. Also, we see Ollie and the other disciples returning. We see them freed from Lilith's hold once she's cast back to Edom from the looks of it. Although the ones that had the flying demons burst out of their bodies, they were dead. So there's no luck for them returning to normal life. Though it has me wondering, do those disciples remember them being possessed by those demons? So there's that impromptu question as well. Again, we see Becky Lewis returning, and she apologizes to Simon for not being there for him during his time as a vampire. And it looked like she promised him that she wasn't going to not be there for him anymore. And then we see his mom, and we see the fallout of her trying to tell everybody that a vampire attacked her daughter, which results in Simon incantoing her and compelling her to not only believe that he's not a vampire, but he's dead instead due to an accident, which was just heartbreaking, like I said. So runes for the episode was the fact that we learned a new one, Spiritum, which Izzy uses, and Spiritum is meant to see currents of supernatural energy, so like the ley lines, the wards. So pretty much, I think it's anything you can see the warlocks using spells for. Spiritum shows it, I think. It's kind of like it kind of looked like X-ray vision a little, as a comparison. We also see the return of Clary's sunlight rune, and then we also get reference to the anti-tracking rune as the owl activated it on Clary so that the Shadowhunters can find her while they were in the city. So there's that. Tidbit-wise, though, we get confirmation that Izzy had ended things with Dr. Charlie. She was just tired of lying to him about the Shadow World, so she just ended it with him, which is kind of sad since the last time we saw him, he was having a little family moment with her family. So there's that. We see Maris Lightwood wanting to join the fight against Lilith, but Alec having to beg her not to and just let them take care of it, since she isn't a Shadowhunter anymore. So that's got to be pretty rough. But anyways, moving on to most shocking moment of the episode. For 309, I have to say, Clary resurrecting Valentine, I was not expecting that at all. If it weren't for the credits at the very beginning showing his name as appearance, I would have been completely surprised that he was going to be in it. I actually thought that the credit was just to show, because we saw his body, right? So I didn't think it would be anything more than that, but we did. So I was surprised by that. I was also surprised that Jace actually got his hands on Clary since he posed as one of the guards of the guard, or I should say the owl, but anyways, I actually thought that the guard that cornered her, I thought it was Iris in disguise, because she did slip away from the other prisoners when Valentine freed them. So that was a shock there. With 310, though, my surprise was the fact of the huge massive explosion that resulted from Lilith being sent back to Edom. I definitely wasn't expecting that, even though we see her being covered in patches of fire before the big kaboom. And then also, I was surprised when Magnus revealed to Jace that he can't heal Alec's stab wound. And then the reason why being he doesn't have his magic anymore. So that just threw me for sure. But anyways, moving on from that, let's talk about my top 3 favorite moments. I got a few for sure for 309. First one being Clary and Valentine. It was just very interesting to see their dynamic return once again. It's very interesting to play on the fact that she was able to bring her father back to life and just have this conversation with him. It was very intense, and I really liked what came about it. I'm glad that he was cooperative towards her, I guess you could say. It wasn't until the very end where his time was up that he kind of became more volatile, but it was very interesting to see. Definitely something I was not expecting to be possible. So there's that. Second favorite moment has to be Simon and Izzy. It was just great to see, despite Simon going through this very terrible thing with his family, it was very great to see Isabel comforting Simon and showing her support for him and saying that we'll get through this. You're not alone in this. It was just really great to see that friendship right there between them. So I absolutely love that. Another favorite has to be the magic fight between Magnus and Lorenzo. It was very cool to see how they mixed the combat moves with the magic flares to it. So that was pretty cool. So there's that. It was just also interesting to see Magnus get a little more physical in the fights as opposed to just relying on the magic. Or I guess in a sense he still relied on the magic, just like Lorenzo. But anyways, hopefully you get what I mean. And then a bonus favorite I liked was the fact that Alec and Izzy were worrying over the fact that they were denied any news about Clary's status back in Idris. I really like at least she wasn't forgotten since they were so focused on trying to save Jace. So at least I like the fact that she was still on their mind. So there's that. And especially because Clary and Alec have come such a long way. Anytime those two are on the exact same page with each other and caring for each other, I'm like, yes, that's like the bro OTP right there for me. So there's that. So moving on to 310 though, my favorites for it. Absolutely top favorite would have to be Simon. His performance in this episode was just truly phenomenal, especially with his family. We got the scene between him and his sister Becky, the truth behind it, and then her reaction to it. She didn't blame him for attacking her. She was more open-minded about him being a vampire. And then when she discovered just what it meant to become a vampire and to realize that Simon went through all that alone, how she was like so sorry that she wasn't there for him. And it's just like you could really see it on Simon how much her words truly affected and how much he truly appreciated hearing that from her when his mom just threatened his life a few hours before when the attack happened. So it was such a needed moment between the siblings for sure. And then add on to that, you have that very powerful goodbye Simon gave to his mom when he encantoed the fact, telling her that Simon Lewis is dead and that he's not a vampire, but he's dead. It's just like his words to her, his goodbye. It's just, there are no words for it. It's just you truly felt the emotion with him, and it definitely brought tears to my eyes. It was just such powerful performances, and then her reaction to it afterwards, it was very moving for sure. And then you got all that emotional stuff out of the way, and you got funny Simon with his side comments about the stele, and then also the part where him and Clary, when he just finishes rescuing her, and she's telling him, we have to stop Lilith from resurrecting my brother, and he says Sebastian, Jonathan, and then he's thinking it's 2 brothers when it's really 1. It's just like, that was just so rapid fire of a moment between the two, yet it was funny. It's just like, oh, okay. It's like, that's a normal thing. So it's like, it was just such a huge range from Simon, and I loved it for this episode for sure. Another favorite of mine has to be that we got the return not only of Jace in control of his own body once again, but the fact that we got to see the pure angel blood power of him, the yellow eyes glowing and such, and him taking on all these demons and forcing himself up to the rooftop to get to Clary. It was really great to see this version of Jace back. It was great seeing an evil side to Jace, but then it was really interesting how the moment it's Jace in control, his face just looks so much different than when it was the owl that was in control. It's just like, it was a huge, I mean, it's still the same face. It's just like the way it was expressed was just, yeah. So I'm really glad that Jace is back in control again. But I'll leave it at that. And then another huge favorite of the episode is all the different fight scenes we got to have. We got Luke and Izzy teaming up to fight against the disciples. We got Jace having his different fights with either Alec or the disciples. And then we got the different version of a fight with Clary, Simon, and Lilith. And then it was so good. Action-packed and everything. I loved it. So there's that. Moving on to top 3 peeved moments. There's a few in 309, I'm sad to say. But first one, Heidi. There's no question. I hate Heidi so much. The fact that she's working for Lilith. Hate her even more. I mean, I really had high hopes that Heidi would be so caught up in her anger and Simon in those harsh words he was saying to her. Yeah, I get it. Why he was saying he wanted to provoke her into attacking so that the Mark would defend him from her. And I really had hoped that she would get overpowered by that emotion to attack him, that she would forget Lilith's warning about the Mark. But now she's still out there. She's still a threat. And it's just like, she tore up Simon's family. It's just like, no. I don't like her even more now. And it's just delusional. It's like, ugh. So, did not like her at all. There was no surprise she was going to be a peeve of mine. Another peeve I had was the fact that Elaine Lewis pretty much disowned Simon, her own son. I mean, I get it. She doesn't believe vampires exist. She just saw this thing. Hang on. Sorry. Phone call, sorry. Where was I? Oh yeah, Elaine disowning Simon. I mean, I was saying that I get why she did it, because she just saw someone attack her own son, or attack her daughter who looked like her son, and she's very protective of now the injured one. But it was so heartbreaking to see how quickly she could turn against Simon. I mean, on the one hand, like, it was a peeve because I didn't like the fact that Simon had to go through that moment of seeing his mom look at him with disgust and that he was a monster. It's just, Simon, he doesn't need that. It's just, he didn't need that with doubt, I guess, when he's come so far in accepting being a vampire, being adjusted and stuff. So anyways, another peeve I had for 309 was the fact that Iris Rouse, her sentencing got moved up just because she refused to resurrect Valentine. I mean, why should she be punished even further for not bringing back a man who wanted to destroy the downworld? Right? So, I mean, with that logic, I mean, you refuse to resurrect Valentine, so we're going to move up your execution. So with that logic, Clary should be set free because she did resurrect Valentine, right? I mean, it was just so stupid. But I did like the fact that Iris did refuse resurrecting Valentine, and just she wouldn't go there despite what the Clave demanded of her. So there's that. Another peeve I had, though, was the fact that Luke was forced to pick between Clary and the pack. I mean, it's completely unfair to make him choose between one family and the other. I mean, like, you have a pack which he's supposed to take care of, and they each have to watch each other's back. But then you have Clary. Essentially, Luke is all Clary has left, essentially, when it comes to parents and stuff like that, right? So it's just like, it was unfair for them to demand him to make a choice, but then it was also unfair of Luke to demand the wolves to risk their lives and go rescue Clary. He should have gave them the option of, I need your help. Those willing to come help me save my daughter, I greatly appreciate it. But if you don't, I will understand. Instead, he was trying to order them. It's like, you're part of the pack. I'm giving you an order to go with me to Idris. It was wrong on both levels. So it's just, peeve there. Another peeve I had was that, I don't know if it's correct for me to feel like this, but I'm getting the feeling that Maya is missing whenever Simon needs her. I don't know if that's correct for me to feel, or if maybe it's because how I'm viewing the episodes too far apart from each other or too close together, depending on which ones. But I always feel like Simon is always having a crisis and Maya's not there, and yet whenever Maya has a crisis, Simon is always there for her and giving her that support, and yet he's not getting the same back. I'm always finding that Isabel is the one filling that role. I don't know if that's just me or if I'm misremembering it all, but I mean, I don't mind Izzy stepping in, but as the girlfriend, Maya should be there, right? I mean, I get why she left town because she needed to sort things out, especially with the bombshell that Jordan dropped on her, but it just seems like the only time I really saw Maya be there for Simon, to my recollection, was when he first got the Mark Cane and he wasn't sure what exactly it meant or what it did and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? So anyways, that was what? That was 5 peeves I had for 309. So let's move to 310, which is good news. I didn't have any peeves with 310. So that kind of balanced it out, right? I don't know. But anyways, moving on to what moment will I remember most when I look back on these 2 episodes. 309, Valentine's brief return, absolutely. And then 310, I remember Lilith resurrecting Jonathan, yet she got sent back to Edom. So she kind of won and she lost. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But moving on to random questions. I did have a question after I posted my previous video. It stems from 308, and it just had me wondering that. If Jace's love for Clary was taken away with that anti-love elixir, then why in his mind was he still repeatedly killing Clary and only Clary? Why not a family member we know he still loves, instead of Clary, who he supposedly is not supposed to love anymore because of that elixir? So that was a question I forgot to ask in my previous video. So moving on to questions I did have for 309. First one being, why did Simon have to feed to prove a point about vampires? Heidi could have easily licked Becky's blood off of the knife to get the same point across. I mean, further tormenting Simon. And also, in what world would Heidi have to be living in to think that if you got Simon to not only attack his family or even kill his family, what world does she think that he's going to forgive her for that and then be with her in the way that she wants him to be with her? I mean, it's delusional, right? So there's that. Another question is there no chance of reconciliation between Simon and his family now? I mean, that was kind of still tossed up in the air with 310, but I guess half of it was kind of already determined. With him compelling his mom or incantoing his mom, but I still don't know about with his sister. Yeah, don't know what the state of him and Becky is now that their mom thinks that Simon's dead. Last question though, did Valentine kill Gia Penhallow or Conso Penhallow? I don't remember seeing her again, after which he had her in that circle as a human shield. So there's that right there. 310 questions though. First one, what exactly happened to Magnus's magic? He said that it was part of the deal he had to make, but does that mean like he doesn't have access to his magic anymore? Is it because it's just temporarily gone and he'll slowly get it back later? Or is it because of his defiance over Lorenzo, and that's why it kind of is depleted now? I don't know what happened, but like, what does that mean for his magic? What does that mean for him as a warlock as well, though, too? Like, what parts of Magnus were tied to his magic? I mean, is his immortality affected if he doesn't have his magic? I mean, like, what's going on there? Second question was, what are the chances that Clary and Jonathan got sent to Edom with Lilith during that explosion that sent her back to Edom? I mean, it kind of looks like that to me. So there's that. Second question is this the last we've seen of Lilith? I don't think so. I think if we do see her, it would be back in Edom, but I think it may be the last we've seen of her topside, if that makes sense. Next question. Did Simon cut ties with Becky, or will she be there for him behind their mother's back, who now believes that Simon is dead? because of the Encanto, which I did just previously mention that in the 309 questions. So there's that there. I hope Becky is still there for Simon. I hope they're still able to have a connection. Because you can't have that speech between the two of them at the hospital and then just cut ties from it. I mean, right? So there's that. Also, next question. What is the status on Alec? He did get stabbed. Magnus was still trying to hold off or stem off that bleeding. So, like, what's going on with Alec? Is he okay? Huge question there. Also, last question. Does Jace still love Clary? I mean, did freeing him from the owl also erase the effects that anti-love elixir had on Jace that he had consumed to take away his love for Clary? Because at that rooftop scene, when he was told that Clary is dead, he reacted as if he was in love with her. He didn't act like he lost a friend or anything like that. But then again, Simon was kind of reacting similarly, so I don't know. But I would hope to believe that Jace still loves Clary. He has to still love her. And then with the owl went that love elixir, anti-love elixir thing. So I'll leave it at that. So moving on to predictions very quickly. There is no promo for 311 because it is not set to return till August 14th, 2018, from what I found. So that is, 3 months from now? Definitely not going to get a promo about that. That means we're not going to get a synopsis about that until closer to the date. So we got to wait until the middle of the summer to get the rest of season 3. But boy, what a way to end the first half of it. I mean, really, especially with a 2-hour mid-season finale, and then to end it the way it did. I mean, 3 months is going to be torture. At least with the regular TV shows, all I had was maybe a month tops, and that's usually the winter premiere, the break with the winter holidays, right? But anyways, what did you guys think of the 2 episodes? What did you guys like about it? What do you think is going to happen next in part B? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your thoughts, theories, and opinions about what you think is going to happen next. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I reblog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. Now that we're on a 3-month break, I should definitely be up to date by the time we return. So be on the lookout for that. Also, if you want access to everything I post online, check my WordPress account. Link for that is down below. It's more organized, but it's still a work in progress. But anything I post will be connected to that. So there you go. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you come back in August to see what I have to say about the next part of Season 3. But until then, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week, wherever you are. Bye for now.